Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, virtual viewers. Welcome to another semester of our journey. We are now in the course of Ed304, the teacher and the community, school culture, and organizational leadership. We are going to discuss the classical philosophies under Unit 1, Introduction to Society, Community, and Education. I am Rochelan Alido, a third-year BS Ed English student, and today I am going to discuss the classical philosophies. But before that, let's have these following objectives first. At the end of this discussion, you are able to compare and contrast the different classical philosophies, create an image metaphor of the classical philosophies, and relate your understanding from the classical philosophies and share your experience to the class or to the comment section of this video. We all know from our previous classes that philosophy helps teachers to reflect on key issues and concepts in education, usually through such questions as what is being educated, what is knowledge, what is the nature of learning, what is learning. Your educational philosophy is your beliefs about why, what, and how you teach, whom you teach, and about the nature of learning. It is a set of principles that guides professional action through events and issues teachers face daily. So the sources of your educational philosophy are your life experiences, your values, the environment in which you live, interactions with others, and awareness of the class of philosophical approaches. Learning about the branches of philosophy, philosophical worldviews, and different educational philosophies and theories will help you determine and shape your own educational philosophy combined with this or with other aspects. To have a recapitulation or to ignite your senses before we will tackle to our proper discussion, try to answer these questions first. Why might the study of philosophy be particularly important to educators? Which branch or branches of philosophy would you want to emphasize in your classroom? Why? Do you learn better deductively or inductively? Why do you think? So for the first question, you might answer because this will guide the educators or guide the educators in terms of the teaching strategies and approaches that he or she will use in the classroom. Maybe that's your initial thinking. For the second question, it's either you thought about ethics, you thought about metaphysics, and the other branches of philosophy. And lastly, you may recall, for the third question, you may recall on your deductive and inductive teachers in your elementary, junior, or senior high school years. So let's try if all those initial perceptions or ideas you have in mind will change after the discussion of these different philosophies. So now we are going to discuss the classical philosophies. So the term metaphysics literally means beyond the physical. This area of philosophy focuses on the nature of reality. So this means that metaphysics attempts to find unity across the domains of experience and thought. So at the metaphysical level, there are four philosophical schools of thought that apply to education today. So we have Idealism, Realism, Pragmatism, or sometimes called Experientialism, and Existentialism. So first, let's talk about Idealism. So idealism is a school of philosophy that emphasizes that ideas or concepts are the essence of all that is worth knowing. So essential to these teaching methods is posing questions to generate thoughts and spark connection. This means that the teacher is randomly asking questions in between the discussion. So introspection, intuition, insight, and the whole part logic are used to bring to consciousness the forms or concepts in which are latent in the mind. So character is developed through imitating examples and heroes. In the idealist classroom, your hero is your teacher. So the key philosophers for this are Plato, Socrates, and Immanuel Kant. So if we're going to have implications of idealism in education, the aim of education in idealism is to discover and develop each individual's abilities and full moral excellence in order to better serve society. So within an idealist educational philosophy, the curricular focus is on ideas rather than the student or specific content areas. So learning is also intrinsically motivated. Teaching methods focus on handling ideas through lecture, discussion, and the Socratic dialogue. So this is a method of teaching that uses questioning to help students discover and clarify knowledge. So this means that the curricular emphasis is subject matter of the mind. So example, literature, history, philosophy, and religion. So with all these implications of education, we have the thought now that it is idea-centered versus subject-centered or teacher-centered. Next is we have realism. Realism believes that reality exists independent of the human mind. The ultimate reality is the world of physical objects. So the focus is on the body or the object. Truth is objective or what can be observed. So Aristotle, a student of Plato who broke with his mentor, idealist philosophy, is the father of realism and the scientific method. So in this metaphysical view, the aim is to understand objective reality through the diligent and unsparing scrutiny of all observable data. So this is about the truth and observation. So Aristotle believed that to understand an object, its ultimately form has to be understood, which being physically present but ultimately exists whether or not a person is aware of it. So Aristotle also was the first to teach logic as a form of discipline to be able to understand reason about the physical events and aspects. So basically the realists are Aristotle, John Locke, and North Whitehead. So if we're going to have an implication of realism in education, so in realism, the school of philosophy holds reality, knowledge, and value exist independently of the human mind or the metaphysics. So in a realist curriculum, this emphasizes the subject matter to the physical world, so particularly the science and mathematics. So the teacher organizes and presents content systematically within a discipline. So this means that this is still a teacher-centered philosophy. Teaching methods focus on mastery of facts and basic skills through demonstration and recitation. Students must also demonstrate the ability to think critically and scientifically using observation and experimentation. The curriculum should be scientifically approached, standardized, and distinct discipline-based. So the character is developed through training in the rules of conduct. So with all these implications to education, this is still a subject-centered curriculum which is under mathematics and science, and this employs experimental and observational technique to the students. Next is we have existentialism. Existentialism holds that reality is lived existence and the final reality resides within the individual or the metaphysics. The nature of reality for existentialists is subjective and lies within the individual. The physical world has no inherent meaning outside of human existence. So individual choice and individual standards rather than external standards are central. So existence comes before any definition of what we are. We define ourselves in relation to that existence by the choice we make. We should not accept anyone else's predetermined philosophical system. Rather, we must take responsibility for deciding who we are. So the focus is on freedom, the development of authentic individuals as we make meaning of our lives. So there are several different orientations within the existentialist philosophy. So according to Soren Kierkegaard, a Danish minister and philosopher, he considered to be the founder of existentialism. Following to the bleak period of World War II, the French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre suggested that for youth, the existential movement arises when young person realizes for the first time that choice is theirs, that they are responsible for themselves. Their questions becomes who I am and what should I do. We have different existentialists around the world, such as Jean-Paul Sartre, Friedrich Nietzsche, and Robert Greene. If we're going to have implications of existentialism in education, the subject matter of existentialist classrooms should be a matter of personal choice. Teachers view the individual as an entity within a social context in which the learner must confront others' choice to clarify his or her own. Character development emphasizes individual responsibility for decisions. Real answers come from within the individual and not from the outside authority. Examining life through authentic thinking involves students in genuine learning experiences. Existentialists are opposed to think about students as objects to be measured, tracked, and standardized. Such educators want the educational experience to focus on creating opportunities for self-direction and self-actualization. They start within the student rather than on the curriculum content. So this means that proper education starts with the human individual, and education fills the gaps in understanding so that an individual can fulfill their purpose. Lastly, is we have pragmatism. For pragmatists, only those things that are experienced or observed are real. This philosophy is focused on the reality of experience. Pragmatists believe that reality is constantly changing and that we learn best through applying our experiences and thoughts to problems as they arise. The universe is dynamic and evolving and becoming view of the world. There is no absolute and unchanging truth, but rather, truth is what works. So we have different pragmatists, including Charles Sanders Peirce, John Dewey, and Richard Rorty. So if we're going to have an implication of pragmatism in the education, so for pragmatists, teaching methods focus on hands-on problem solving, experimenting, and projects, often having students work in group. Curriculum should bring the discipline together to focus on solving problems in an interdisciplinary way. Rather than passing down organized body of knowledge to new learners, pragmatists believe that learners should apply their knowledge to real situations through experimental inquiry. This prepares students for citizenship, daily living, and future careers. So this means that learning best through experience is being implicated to the education and the use of ideas as instruments for problem solving. We are done with discussing our classical philosophies, and I hope you understand all those four. Now I'm going to challenge you. Try to reflect on these following questions. I know you are now generating your knowledge and arranging your ideas to these questions from what have you understood with the classical philosophies. I would be happy to know your thoughts in the comment section. That's all for this discussion. See you on my next video. Bye! Happy learning!